So, a couple of days ago, Bethesda had their developers, Shen and Emil Pagliarulo, sit down and answer a few questions for the community via their Discord channel. I attended that Q&A along with many other people in hopes of hearing some interesting facts about Starfield pre-release. Altogether, they answered 16 questions that were posed earlier in the week. Now, there's no big spoilers that were given out from what I can tell, and therefore there's nothing really groundbreaking either, no huge news, but there was little snippets that we got about some of the game mechanics and the historic lore behind the game or leading up to the events of Starfield. And then there's also a couple of fluff pieces, fluff questions that they did as well. Shen was often, I found, very straightforward in his answers, which I really appreciate. Very short, succinct, straight to the answer. Yeah, straight to the point. And Emil was more colorful. He was more playful. He teased a little bit with his answers. He left us wanting just a little bit more information. Like, he's going to give us a little bit more, but he doesn't quite. And he does add a little bit more context and description in the things that he said. So he gives a bit. I think he gave a bit more detail than Will did throughout the entire event. But ultimately, I think that they both did a really good job. And I'm very glad that we got this opportunity to hear from them. With that, I wanted to kind of quickly go over each of the questions. I'm sure there's plenty of videos looking at them in extreme detail and reading them word for word. And that's just not what I'm into. So I'm going to probably paraphrase a little bit. But ultimately, this video, I just wanted to kind of get out there my feelings about each question and the answers to them and what I think about that. So here we go. Question 1. Can we buy houses or property in main cities? The basic answer to this is yes. They both said yes. There's housing in different cities that players can get, and sometimes you'll also get them through rewards for specific quests. So, very Bethesda thing to do. Question 2. If we get the kid stuff trait, will our parents be generated based on our character's look, or are there standard parents put in place? What benefits might there be? This is kind of a two-part question. The main part being, do your parents share a resemblance to your character? The short answer to this that they both gave was yes. They've used the technology developed in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 to generate parents based off of your appearance. Neither of them seem to have worked directly on that part of the game, but they both confirmed that it is in there. Your parents will appear to be similar to you. And here's a little bit of that flavor that Emil adds. He said that he thinks fans will really appreciate the actors we got to play those roles, and they get so into it. It's awesome. And he also confirmed that yes, you do get rewards. He says, oh, and yeah, you can get stuff. So what kind of rewards? Maybe an allowance. Ooh, that'd be cool. Though I believe what they said in the direct was that you have to pay a little bit of money to your parents. So that seems like a strange relationship in my opinion, but okay. Maybe they get you gifts for like your birthday or something, or special occasions within the game. Maybe when you accomplish certain things, they take you out to dinner. That might be cool. Who knows? Question 4. How will the smuggling cargo system work? Can we hide it somewhere on the ship and sell it for more currency later? I really appreciated that they answered this question because I'm very excited about becoming a smuggler. So this was a very interesting part to me when I watched the direct and I saw the little pop-up that they said they were scanning for contraband. And so I was really excited to hear them answer this, and they kind of stalled for a bit on this. I was sitting there eager, but they said, Will said certain items are considered contraband and you'll need to smuggle them past security ships that are in orbit or major settlements. Okay. Emil kind of clarified it a little bit more, saying that there are special ship modules you can purchase, but don't get caught with those harvested organs. Like I said, he's very playful in his answers. He then went on to answer kind of a hidden second question, or part of this question, where he said that the economy is fixed, but prices of bought and sold goods can change based on your skills you choose. So what he's saying there is that the prices won't fluctuate. Instead, they are set for a specific item, but skills will either increase or decrease those prices based on you having or not having those skills. This is very similar to all other Bethesda games. Prices are always very static. This is also very similar to how our own economy kind of works. Yes, there are things like supply and demand that we deal with, and we do fluctuate a little bit with inflation, but ultimately, Apple sets a price of $100 for this little dongle, and it's $100 for that dongle. You don't get to go and say, oh, look, at over here in this other city, they're selling it for less. It's still $100. It may be on sale for cheaper because they're running a sale, but that price is $100. So I find this to be very similar to how our own economy works. And, prices don't fluctuate all that often, so they are rather static. Question number 5. Will there be a jail system if we commit crimes? This was also really interesting to me. I like when games implement a sort of jail system, and they did confirm that there will be a jail. Will specified that you can pay a fine when you're arrested, or you can attempt to resist arrest and try to escape. Emil went a little further, and he said that it's more like Skyrim than Fallout 4's Commonwealth in that regard. I'm not exactly sure that Fallout 4 had a jailing system. I think they just kind of killed you on the spot. Skyrim, I believe, had a jail system. I don't know if you had ever had to break out of jail. I know that, they walked up to you. They said, do you want to pay the fine for your crimes? If not,
we're going to kill you.
So you're essentially resisting arrest, or you are paying your fine in Skyrim. I'm hoping that this has an actual jail. They take you somewhere, they impound your ship. You have to escape from prison. Being able to escape from prison would be cool. Or if you want to just spend your time playing Starfield, doing your prison chores and going to bed, going to the yard, doing push-ups and weights and playing b-ball with the gang or with the gang members or something like that. Yeah, that would be really cool actually too. I think if they implemented that in the game. Or if you want to do all that while also trying to plan your escape, like the game Escape, just not pixelated, right? So it'd be really cool if maybe that's an aspect that you could do where you could escape from jail. I doubt that. I'm going to guess that it's, like you said, a lot more like Skyrim's, where you either pay a fine or they kick your butt, or attempt to kick your butt anyways. I don't know how overpowered the police force is going to be. In games like EVE Online, the police force is rather strong. They will instant kill you pretty much anywhere, and they take no damage. I find that would be really odd in a single player game to have a police force just as brutal. So I think it'd be more fun if you could maybe actually fight back, which is also usually how Bethesda games work. You can usually fight back, and they are just another one of you, basically. They are just as strong as any other person would be. That's probably what it's going to be. They're going to either shoot your ship or you're going to pay a fine. Do I wish it was more? Yes, but I'm not holding out hope on that. I'm not holding out hope on actually getting to go to prison, to space prison. Now, question number 6 was, will time pass when not in the game? For example, will my trade routes, outposts, and mining operations continue to produce, or does that only occur when actively playing? They were both very short about this. The sim only runs when you are playing, so you must be playing for all of your stuff to operate. Now, I should mention that I'm going to skip some questions and put them later because they're either spoilers or I don't think they're as interesting as questions, and I still want to go over them, but not up front. Right now, we're just handling kind of the mechanical questions of the game, the technical questions within the game. So here we go. Question 8. Depending on traits selected during character creation, will it at all be possible to play through the game in a pacifist mode, i.e. without killing anyone or even potentially anything? That would be a really fun playstyle. I mean, it would be slow. It'd be really slow and really challenging. And I'm not sure I would stick it through all the way, but sometimes I'm that stubborn and perseverant to do something like that. And they kind of answered that there's options to be pacifists in certain situations with the speech challenge mode, or just choosing not to do certain things. But ultimately, if you want to play the whole game at some point, it sounds like you are going to have to probably end someone. So unfortunately, no fully pacifist mode, though, like I said, I'm kind of stubborn, so now they've kind of challenged me, and I might just try it. I might just try it and to prove them wrong about the game they've spent years making. try my damnedest to be fully pacifist, which is sad because I really like also just bludgeoning people in games like this. That being said, though, I have tried more charismatic builds that are based a lot around charisma and just talking my way out of things in Skyrim or Fallout or other Elder Scrolls games. So this is definitely something I could try. I might try. I'll let you know later how that goes once the game's released and I'm actually trying it. It usually doesn't go well. So on and on, we're skipping questions 9 and 10 right now and on to question 11. When we assign crew members to work at outposts, do we have to pay them salaries? Very good question because, just like in GTA Online, if you have an office building or a garage, you have to pay regularly your mechanic or people that run your office, your secretaries and stuff like that. So there's a fee that comes out of your money every so often to pay those people. They confirmed that yes, you do have to pay them, and they did talk about possibly doing a salary-based thing, but they decided they didn't want the player to have to worry about so many things going on. There's so much going on. This was one thing they didn't want the player to have to keep track of and lose track of, and then potentially lose progress on something that they didn't know was going for hours that they thought was going. And so they made it a one-time payment. You put them in an outpost and you pay them once and they do the work. Very straightforward, very simple. I like that. Appreciate that they tried to simplify something. Question 12. Will our companions be able to level up their perks? Will their perks stack with ours? The two of them basically said that the characters do not level up their perks. That doesn't necessarily mean that the characters don't level up, though I would imagine that they don't. I'm not sure how that might work. I actually can't recall how that works in other Bethesda games, if your companions there level up as well, but their perks at least won't level up. So they said that they come with different perks at different ranks. So based on that, they're set though. They're set, they can't be ranked up. They did, however, say that they do stack with your own perks. So you can level up your perks and that'll obviously stack with theirs and then you can have more. Emil went on to say that you'll really notice the benefits of their perks in the ship and combat related ones. Getting a boost to your shields or seeing your companion laying down fire with a weapon they're proficient in are pretty sweet moments. So it sounds like the perk system is quite noticeable. It's not going to be really small amounts that they stack on top. It's going to quite boost your gameplay quite a bit. So it's worth doing. It's worth taking that time and planning that out well. All right, and next we're skipping a few more questions and moving to the last question that they asked, which was question 16. What is the history of the Mechs? So this is that historic lore question that I told you about. They do some of this. Will actually didn't answer this question at all, which I found interesting. He didn't say anything. Emil, however, did. He got really excited about talking about the Mechs. He said, they showed a bit of that in the shorts, the animated shorts that they did. The Mechs are leftovers from the Colony Wars, from the Colony War. He very much specified that it's Colony War, not Colony Wars. After he, of course, called it Colony Wars. So, interesting. He said both sides, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective, had the Mechs, but the Freestar Collective were a lot more proficient with them, while the United Colonies, they used controlled alien beasts for Xeno Warfare Division. They had a Xeno Warfare Division, which is the first time we've heard about that, and that's kind of cool. And I'm kind of curious if we might see some of that, or if we may have seen some of that in flashes of gameplay that we saw in the direct, with that big beast or in the trailer too, the big beast that is, coming through the hallway, or he jumps out and attacks a certain creature, but it looks like they're at some sort of facility. And so it seems like maybe that's part of their Xeno warfare division, were those creatures maybe that they were experimenting on. Don't know. Maybe they're getting back into it. He did say that both of those, the Mechs and the Xeno warfare, were outlawed with the armistice that ended the colony war. So they're not legal anymore. The Xeno warfare is not legal anymore, and neither are Mechs. And he did later also confirm that, no, we will not be able to use the Mechs. They are just relics. Put that to rest. No Mechs. End of it, I guess. And then he went on to say, I'm not saying there's an old mech battleground in the game. I'm typing it. Winky face. I don't know why he had to say that, why he had to type it, say he's typing it. But it sounds like there is an old mech battleground in the game that we can go look at and go see. So that'll be fun. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the questions that I think the answers are might be considered spoilers. So if you want to avoid spoilers at all costs, any type of spoilers, even small ones, because these are not great big spoilers, they're small spoilers. But if you want to avoid any spoilers whatsoever, you should probably skip to the next chapter. I'm going to make sure that there's chapters in this video. So skip to the next chapter and you'll be good. All right, here we go. Question 9. What are the beliefs and basic history of the religions we can join? Sanctum Universum, Enlightened, the Great Serpent. The answers to this are very long-winded. There's a lot that they talk about. So I'm going to kind of just read what they said. It is a lot. Religion is a lot. So let's get into it. Will said the Sanctum Universum is only a couple decades old in our timeline, but has gained a lot of prominence. They believe that God is out there somewhere in the universe, and that humanity's ability to travel the stars brings us closer to God. The Enlightened are an atheist group that focus on humanitarian and community work. They believe that life is something every person has to take responsibility for, so that if we want the world to be a better place, we have to do it. He then doesn't say anything about the Great Serpent. Emil goes into a lot more depth. He did say that there is existing real-life religions are a part of Starfield, but they focus a lot more on these 3 new ones that are specific to Starfield. He goes on to say that members called Universals believe that God very much exists somewhere in the universe, that a higher power is guiding us all. Specifically, they believe that humanity's ability to travel the universe and grav jump is God's way of saying, I'm out here, come find me. The Enlightened, these folks are essentially organized atheists. They don't believe in any kind of higher power. Rather, they teach that human beings have to take care of each other, and they practice what they preach. And he then gets into House Varun. Oh boy, in his own words, oh boy, does he get into House Varun. He says, in the game, you're not really sure what the complete truth is, but gossip among the guards is this. A colony ship sets off for a new world, making grav jumps along the way. After one of the grav jumps, one of the passengers claims he spent that time communing with a celestial entity known as the Great Serpent. What was a few seconds for everyone else was much longer for him, and he brought back a mandate, which is basically get on board or be devoured when the Great Serpent encircles the universe. Is it true? I ain't saying. In the game, sometimes you face off against House Varun Zealots, which is as an enemy group, and that's their motivation, is that they're trying to get you on board or they're going to be encircled by the serpent. And he did say that he also recently got a House Varun logo tattooed on his wrist, so he digs them. He's very into House Varun, which is why I feel like he felt like giving a lot of that information, which is something we're going to experience in the game. So that's where the kind of the spoiler is that it's a very mysterious group, probably the newest of the 3. Yeah, there's not a lot of information around them, but there's a lot of hearsay. Question 10. How many companions total will we be able to recruit? More than 20. That's what they said. There's 20 named companions. They said over 20 named companions. 4 of them are the crew from Constellation. Now, I want to point out that they said over 20 named companions. Let's say that they said 20 named companions, right? That doesn't mean you can only have 20 companions, just 20 of them that are specific enough to have like that they gave specific names to. I'm sure there's probably companions that are procedurally generated, maybe like that. It leaves the door open for procedurally generated companions with generated names to be found through missions or just exploring that you can help and then have them join your crew. And so you could end up with 50 companions, who knows? But they said that there's at least 20 who are created specifically is what I'm reading from this. So that's a lot. That's a lot of different companions to have created specifically. And then if I'm right, there's a lot of possible companions in total. You just find them out there in amongst the stars. Emil goes on to talk about the voice cast and how Emil goes on to talk about the voice cast and how amazing that is. They haven't released the list yet, but he says that he's sure that we are going to be very excited about the talented actors that that are bringing the characters to life. And question 7, can you be a double agent in the game? For example, if you join the United Colonies, can you also join Crimson Fleet and give the United Colonies information? And what factions have that feature if they do? Now, this is a very loaded question because this person apparently hit it like on the nose. This is exactly a situation that they have within like a quest in the game, is that you're part of the United Colonies. I'm saying this not from my own knowledge. Literally, they said this. They answered him with this, like, that's exactly what you can do. You join the United Colonies. They send you to infiltrate the Crimson Fleet, and then you can make the decision of whether or not to actually double-cross the Crimson Fleet and give information back to the United Colonies, or help the Crimson Fleet and screw the United Colonies, which I'm really excited for. Being a double agent is really fun. But also, I actually wasn't too surprised by this answer. I think that a lot of people will think that this is really cool and that it's going to be really fun to be a double agent, and how amazing this is that they put this in the game. But this is not new to Bethesda and their quest lines. Oftentimes in Bethesda quest lines, you will come across a decision you have to make, and not just Bethesda, in other RPGs too. You'll come across a decision that you have to make where you're either going to give one person the artifact or give another person the artifact, and they're at war with each other or something, or you're going to tell one person where the treasure is and hide it from the other person, lie to them or something. Or you sometimes you may just play both sides and give them both the information and see what happens. It's very common to have quests like that in Bethesda games and in RPGs in general. So not surprised that this is part of a mission in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more missions like this between other factions in the game. And that's about it for the questions that are spoilers. The next few questions are more fluff questions. They're not really that much about getting information about the game out of these developers, rather their impressions of parts of the game, or their how their feelings about certain parts of the game. So that's what we're going to get into now, is those types of questions. So question 13 was, what are your favorite parts of the game? See, very fluffy, but we can still glean some stuff out of this. Will basically says that he loves finding things that he forgot that they even put in the game, because the games are so big that sometimes, even though they worked on the game, they haven't seen it all. And he loves finding those things that he didn't know about or he completely forgot about. Emil, however, very different role. He said shipping it. He sees pretty much every part of the game all the way along its creation and in every evolution that it takes. And that's very exciting for him. And he's extremely excited for it to just get out to us. He also shouts out some of the other team members, the designers, the questline people. He shouts out a lot of other teams within that. So really good on him for giving credit where credit's due. Question 14. What books or movies had a big influence on some of the quests? Will answered this with a lot less pop culture references in it. He mentioned a couple of podcasts like Hardcore History and The History of Rome. He's a big history buff. And he said that he likes how historians can tell you about how human beings react to certain extreme circumstances, like technological breakthroughs, for example. So a lot of that probably went into his quest design and the imagining of the universe and what led to where we are today in Starfield terms. But Emil got very much into pop culture. He's a child. He said he's a child of the 70s and early 80s, and he has very fond memories of sci-fi at that time. He mentioned Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999, Buck Rogers, Battle Beyond the Stars, Ice Pirates, Maelstrom, the destruction of Jared Sin. And he says that all those examples basically make you realize that space is, number one, mysterious, wonderful, and sometimes terrifying. I find it interesting that he mentioned terror there. I think it'll be fun to see what kind of horror sci-fi movies they pull from for some of their influence in some of their quests. I really want an Event Horizon themed quest. I think that'll be really fun. Aliens would obviously be a great one too. Definitely part of something that we kind of maybe have seen. There's definitely alien creatures. So moving on to question 15. What are some favorite small details in Starfield to add to the immersion? Ultimately, with this question, they answered with basically everything, while mentioning several things. They kind of covered it all. They talked about the outfits, the materials of the spacesuits, and that they both specifically mentioned buttons, that they like a lot of buttons, and there's a lot of buttons. I don't know if they mean like shirt buttons or like tactile buttons or what, but they said that they like buttons. They mentioned the NASA punk theme. They talked about bulletin boards. There's, environmental things within missions. If you're just looking at the environment, they might give you key information about what's going on. If you're looking at it, there's books. They did say that. They confirmed there's going to be books in the game that you can read to give you some background or just fun reading. The music, they said, was really nice, and the sound effects are superb. So they basically hit every corner there that they needed to all the tiny details and even some of the major ones. Now, this last question is question 3. I was not a big fan of. Question 3 was, for those of us who have never played a BGS game and will be starting with Starfield, what information should we know that will make the experience more impactful right from the start? It's hard to acknowledge this question. I can't believe that they did. I don't know why they picked this question. There's probably a lot of other really good questions that they could have asked, or just left it at 15 questions, because it's a brand new title. It's a brand new title. You don't need any background other than what's out there or what's in this game. It's the first one. It's Starfield 1. There's nothing else. You don't need any knowledge from Elder Scrolls or Fallout to help you understand what's going on in this and enjoy this world. Maybe to possibly understand what kind of mechanics you might be getting into, but at the same time, if you're someone who's excited about Starfield because it's a sci-fi game and you're into sci-fi games and you're wondering about this, maybe go check out Skyrim or Fallout on your own. I don't know why you would need this question. I don't quite like that they answered it. Overall, I'll get into overall in a second. After the last question was answered, very interesting thing happened that I was surprised they did. The moderator opened up the chats to everyone, and what followed was pandemonium, as literally everyone started just throwing in whatever questions they could. They didn't, I'm sure that they had already asked the questions. I saw questions that I had seen asked in the, prior to August 11th in preparation for this, thrown in there as well. It's like they didn't choose to answer that question. What makes you think they're going to do it again? There was people just saying nonsense in there, congratulating them on the great thing. It was complete pandemonium in all of the chats for it. It was crazy. I don't know why they opened it up. I'm sure it was just a misclick or a mistake on the moderator's part, but it went on for at least 10-15 minutes. It was
a madhouse.
I left at some point before it finished. I was just like, I'm out of here. I don't need to ask anything more. They're not going to be answering anything more. I don't know why people are still throwing questions in there. It was ridiculous. That being said, overall, I thought that this was overrated. They didn't really answer anything interesting in my eye. There's a lot of cool information about the technical side of things and the mechanics of the game, but I don't think any of them were questions anyone or most people were concerned about or really looking for answers to that we couldn't wait till the game came out. I'd like a lot more information about the space magic mechanics, which obviously they're keeping close to their chest because I'm assuming that would be huge spoilers. And I'm guessing that they were trying to avoid spoilers. So I understand why this wasn't crazy, awesome game information about the game that some people probably wanted, maybe myself included a little bit, but I'm a patient person. I can wait till the game comes out for that. So I'm thankful that they did this. If it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be upset. I could have gone without knowing any of this information personally. Take from that what you will. I'm Joe. It's been fun. Thank you for listening to me talk about this. I was just excited to talk about this. I need to get it out there somewhere. We'll be going over these questions with Chase and Zach. They'll be coming at it fresh, not having seen them at all, in a little Q&A game I've got planned in our next Into the Starfield podcast. And that's all I've got for today. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found solace in some of the answers that we got there. And we'll see you guys in the Starfield. Bye.